This video is sponsored by Alcid eHomes, whose mission it is to accelerate the advent of sustainable, healthy living systems around the world. Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. So, we hear a lot of talk about Tesla's high valuation, and why should they be valued so high compared to other car companies like Volkswagen, for example, and also look at why their valuation is not going up but rather going down. Well, I would love to take you on a little journey today that will explain exactly that. A moonshot of a ride to the near future where you will see why Tesla's valuation of $650 billion is very low. And we will have a chance to see Tesla become the biggest company the world has ever seen. And not even looking at their energy business, but only looking at Tesla as a car company. That of course will install some very sophisticated software in the cars. But I think the chance that Tesla has here will probably blow your mind, if you haven't already done the math yourself, of course. So let's check out Tesla's possible multiple trillion dollars valuation, and let's dive right in. So we will do a lot of numbers that are very speculative, and the moon and sun and stars will all have to align for all this to come true. But this is why Tesla is valued so high, because there is a chance for this to happen. For Tesla, not for someone like Volkswagen or GM or Ford, in my opinion, but for Tesla there is a chance. So let's have a little bit of fun. Let's say Tesla solve full self-driving, and they have done so by 2030. That is not too crazy to believe. I think that is very conservative. And let's say they will also hit their target of 20 million cars by 2030. With the growth we see right now and the future potential, I find it very likely they will do this, both the full self-driving and the 20 million cars. So let's go with some of the numbers that we got from Tesla's Autonomy Day, just to keep this very simple, where Elon said full self-driving Tesla would be able to earn $30,000 per year. I actually think he meant you and I, who owns a Tesla, and Tesla themselves I think will probably earn even more. But let's just stick with this number, $30,000 per year, to make this very easy. So if they in 2030 can make 20 million full self-driving cars, the question is also, will Tesla even sell any cars to you and I anymore? Because if they sell a car to the public, they will maybe earn about $13,000 in profit on the sale, and maybe a little more on subscriptions down the road. But compared to $30,000 every single year for the lifetime of the car, that is maybe 10 or 15 years, we are talking about maybe $350,000 in revenue per car with very high margins, instead of $13,000 in profits. It is a much better business case for Tesla, so maybe they won't even bother selling the so-called normal car to the public anymore and only focus on full self-driving robotaxis. Who knows? But let's just say they will sell 5 million cars to the public and 15 million will be full self-driving robotaxis. And those 15 million cars will earn $30,000 for Tesla every single year. That is $450 billion in revenue only from the full self-driving robotaxis, and only in the year 2031. And remember, full self-driving is pure software. The margin is going to be like 80 or 90%. So let's just say 80% margin. That is $360 billion in pure profits. This is more profit than Volkswagen had in revenue in 2019. In 2019, Volkswagen had 250 billion euros in revenue with a profit about 19 billion euros, about $23 billion. And Tesla will have about $360 billion in profit. So Tesla's profit in 2030, if they only make about 15 million robotaxis in 2030, will be over 15 times higher than Volkswagen's profit in 2019. But let's take this to the moon and say, like in any other software business, there is only 1 or 2 or maybe 3 companies that is sitting on 90% of the market, like Windows and Mac OS and Android and iOS. But in the full self-driving game, there is Tesla, and well, the number 2 is so far behind, I have a hard time believing they will ever catch up to true full self-driving in the near future. So I think Tesla will be the only one sitting there on 80 and 90% of the market, because sure, there will be some Waymo taxis and some autonomous buses in many cities. So Tesla will not sit on everything, because many others will be able to make full self-driving vehicles in mapped and geofenced areas. That is very different than making true full self-driving cars that can drive anywhere. But I think when Tesla solve this, I think within the next 1-2 years, and then I think companies like Volkswagen or the OEMs will simply just give up. It is too big a task to make this full self-driving artificial intelligent. It is much easier just to license it from Tesla. So eventually everyone will have it, but they will probably be driving on Tesla software. So let's for fun's sake say that Tesla actually will in 2030 won't sell anything to the public, but pump out 20 million full self-driving cars per year, because I think people tend to forget how fast this can go, because we have about 1.3 billion vehicles on the road today, and in 2030 maybe 1.5 billion vehicles. And as we talked about before, we have to convert all those ICE cars over to EVs. But as we also have talked about before, when we have full self-driving in the equation, we suddenly don't need as many cars, because they will drive most of the time and not be sitting still 95% of the time as our cars does today. So we will need about 80% less cars. So instead of about 90 million cars per year, we will only need about 18 million cars per year. And Tesla will be making 20 million cars per year. So they will be able to make more cars themselves than the entire world needs. And instead of having to replace 1.5 billion vehicles in the fleet, we are only going to need 80% less cars on the road, so about 300 million cars in the fleet. And if Tesla will spit out 20 million cars per year, it will only take Tesla about 12 years to replace the whole world's fleet, from stupid non-full self-driving cars to a fleet of full self-driving robotaxis. 12 years themselves. I know there will be some edge cases and Tesla will not do this all by themselves and so on and blah blah blah, but let's just have a little fun and say Tesla will sit on 80% of the full self-driving market. Even if other helps them with their cars, it will probably be running on Tesla's full self-driving software and maybe even hardware, but Tesla will sit on 80% of the full self-driving software out there. So 80% of the 300 million full self-driving cars that we will have converted from 2030 to 2042. So that is 240 million full self-driving cars that Tesla will earn $30,000 per year. That is $7.2 trillion with a T. And if they have 80% in gross margin on these software, they will earn about $5.7 trillion in pure profit per year for these robotaxis that Tesla, in theory, could put out themselves in just 12 years. $5.7 trillion in profits. Apple's market value is only $2 trillion today. Tesla will earn $5.7 trillion per year from only full self-driving robotaxis. We are not talking about batteries, we're not talking about insurance, we're not talking about storage, we're not talking about energy business, automated software, we're not talking about JoJo training other AI systems for other big companies. No, we're only talking about Tesla's car side of the business. But they're just a car company. Yes, and that car company has, in theory, a chance to win 80% of a $9 trillion market. Volkswagen has no chance of this. They can't even get their software to work, let alone make an artificial intelligence that solves vision and can drive anywhere on planet Earth better than a human. So yes, even if you only look at them as a car company, what would you say a company is worth that earns about $5.7 trillion in pure profits per year? Well, Apple have a yearly revenue of $275 billion and have a market cap of about $2 trillion. So that is a software company that has a 7 times more value than its yearly revenue. So would that mean that Tesla, with a $7.2 trillion in revenue, is worth a market cap of $50 trillion? Well, you tell me, please. Because if so, Tesla's $650 billion market cap is 77 times too small. I know these numbers is not grounded in total reality, but it does give us a little understanding why Tesla is valued so high, because there is actually a little chance that something like this could happen. And even if they only get half of what we're talking about, they will still be valued about $25 trillion in 2042. Or let's just make the worst case scenario, because Tesla is the one closest to solving full self-driving. So to think they will not be in the full self-driving market is even more crazy than what we have just talked about. So of course Tesla will be a player in the full self-driving robotaxi business. So if Tesla even only gets 10% of the $9 trillion market cap of the full self-driving cars, they will still have about $900 billion in revenue, giving them maybe a market cap over $6 trillion. So still 3 times higher market cap than Apple has today. And that is if Tesla only gets 10% of the full self-driving market. And that, I think, is even more unlikely than Tesla getting 80% of the entire full self-driving market. Because as we have talked a lot about, Tesla is up and beyond anyone else in solving full self-driving. So of course they will be bigger than 10% of this market. They will dominate this market, in my opinion, of course. It is only a question of how much, how big will they get. And Volkswagen will never get this valuation. Yes, they sell 10 million cars per year and Tesla only sold 500,000. Yes, but what Volkswagen is selling is 98% ICE cars. That is not an advantage. That is a problem. Ice is melting and Volkswagen needs to get rid of all these ICE cars while ramping up EVs. They are not close on solving any full self-driving software, and their EVs are not even better than Tesla's. So that is why Volkswagen will not get a valuation like this, because their 10 million car sales is going out of business. So we will see how many EVs they will be able to make, because that is the only business that counts in the future. Because Volkswagen is only a car company and not even one that's going to solve for self-driving. And in the near future we will only be able to buy EVs and maybe not even buy a car anymore in 2042. So yes, as a Tesla bull, I'm not worried about the stock price going up and down as we have seen it do so many times, because the chance of them becoming the biggest company the world has ever seen is, in my opinion, almost inevitable. And if you're thinking, what is the biggest company in the history of the world? It was the Dutch East India Company that ruled the world in 1637 and had a valuation of about $7.9 trillion in today's money. But remember, the moonshot of a valuation of $50 trillion was only on full self-driving, not their energy business that will probably be even a bigger market, and I do think Tesla is far from done to bring new products into the world, but that's for a totally different video. So Tesla will inevitably become the world's biggest company, if they're not overtaken, of course, by maybe SpaceX or Neuralink, some of Elon Musk's other companies. But what do you think? Am I crazy thinking that Tesla will be the biggest player in the full self-driving market and they will never get such a valuation? Or do you also think that Tesla will rule the full self-driving world and become the biggest company in human history because of that? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.